Hey everybody, welcome to Fab Fit Friday. Of course, I couldn't start on time today on my most exciting day, um, launching my Frenchie jean pattern. So I apologize for the delay in getting on today. So I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sort of a soft launch for this pattern. Hi Diane, welcome. Sorry for my delay. Let me just see here. I'm just shutting off a bunch of stuff on my computer. All right, so, oh, hi Deb, welcome. All right, so today is kind of an exciting day. I've been sitting on my Frenchie jean pattern for months now, and I've been working on it, and I've been working with my pattern tester to iron out any little things. I wrote the instructions. My daughter proofread them for me with a running commentary on my writing style. She's an academic and I'm not, so clearly that's part of it. But I have proofread instructions. I have the pattern ready to go. I'm super excited. Hi Mary. Hi Diane. Welcome ladies. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to show you a few things on my pair of Frenchie jeans, and then I'm going to show you some easy fitting things that you can do to, work with your pattern to get it to agree with your shape. So it's a little bit different because there's no side seam. So let me just switch my view here. Okay. All right, so I blew my camera out so you could see the detail here. These buttons, I'm so excited about these buttons. They're really heavy duty metal buttons, and they were on a fleece top that I cut apart to use for something else. So these are actually repurposed buttons. And I just want you to know that I really thought these were not going to fit me before I got the buttons on. So if you're working with this pattern and you measured your waist and your waist yoke agrees, just remember, don't panic if it feels snug until you get the buttons on, because once the buttons are on, it acts like a nice tummy control panel. I thought my tummy had grown past the fit of these, but they are so comfortable on. I'm really, really excited. And I think I'm just going to show you briefly here, and then what I'll do is I'll just put them on so you can see. I haven't had a chance to take a great picture yet, but there's my completed front. Hi, Like to Sew. Hi, Pat. Oh, Pat says red carpet time for the Frenchies. I know, I'm super excited. In the back, let me just make my view maybe a little bit wider here. Wait a minute. Okay, so here's the back, and I put my vertical darts. Now these darts end before the base of the pocket, so they're about an inch from the base of my pocket. On the bottom of the leg, they go from an inch below the knee seam down straight through the hem. And the reason why these are not hemmed yet is because my other thing going on right now is my dryer is broken, and I want to wash them one more time and let them shrink up one more time before I do my final hem. Because if you're not aware, denim has progressive shrinking, so you can wash it several times and it still may shrink. So I've washed this denim a few times. I'm going to wash it another time, just to make sure it's not going to shrink anymore, and then I'm going to hem. So probably next Friday I could show you how to do the hem, because it's a little bit different. We're going to use cotton twill tape to finish the hem and create a cuff. So on the right side of your jeans, there'll be a little bit of the wrong side of the fabric showing, but then there'll be a cotton twill there. So let me just put them on, because I just want to show you how they fit. I'm going to be right back in 1 second. Let me just change my view back to the this view. All right, so just give me 1 second. I'm going to slip them on. Okay, my daughter was enjoying me doing my little presto changeo here. Let me see if I can show you. Let's see. All right, so I hope you can see how the front looks. And then here's the back. I don't know if it gives me more light. If you can see better, I don't know if that helps. But they're really, really comfortable. So I'm just going to leave them on. You can see when I'm sitting, they're right at my waist. Very, very comfortable. And this 4-inch wide waist yoke really makes a comfortable fit across my tummy. So I'm super excited about these. All right, let me see. I will be doing some photos. I will be doing some better photos later, but you know, I'm sitting in them. They're super comfortable, super excited. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is, oh, hi Francine, welcome. Oh, hi. Oh, Mary says they look good. Thank you, Mary. I'm really, you know, this is like my third pair that I've made for myself, and I think I am going to actually fine-tune a little bit more. But the fact that I can sit in them and they're just as comfortable as my yoga pants is really all I need at this point. I do want to talk about one of my sewing followers who's in attendance, Diane Fetters, sent me this seam ripper. Actually, she sent me 3 of these in the mail as a gift, which I am eternally grateful for, because up until I started working on these jeans, I was more of a smaller blade kind of seam ripper person. So let me just switch my view here. Oops, and let me just zoom in and make this a little less bright. I just want to explain something here. This seam ripper here would not cut through the buttonholes. The denim was too thick, and I really slathered on the fray check so the buttonholes would stay stable. If I had tried to use my Clover very small seam ripper, I would have broke it. I would have broke the tip right off. So this seam ripper, I think this is also from Clover, is a much more hefty seam ripper, and I'm here to say there are times you're going to need a heftier seam ripper, especially if you're going to use it to open holes in your buttonholes in your jeans. I do have a chisel, and the chisel would not do it. So I do have this tool, and it may be that it's just so old. I'm going to bring it to my dad and have him sharpen the blade. So maybe with a sharper blade I would have been able to get through the denim with this. But this did a great job. So I just want to thank Diane again for these. And just know that having a variety of you know, sizes in your seam rippers, I now believe is super important. So that's the one thing I wanted to tell you about. And then the next thing I want to tell you about is let me just, there are some instructions, and I'm going to print out the page that has the little instructions in the pattern. So I put a few, I put a few fitting tips, and I'm just going to print this page out so I can show you. And then I'm going to show you a few other things that have to do with fitting the Frenchie jeans. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right, so the first thing I want to point out here is there are 2 different upper leg pieces included in this pattern. So if you have a low butt, meaning the fullest part of your butt is lower than approaching center between your waist and your crotch level. You can tell by looking at your side view where your butt starts to curve in. If it's low, you're going to use 1A, and if you have an average full butt, you're going to use you're going to use 1B for low butt, and you're going to use 1A for an average shaped butt. I got rid of the high full butt because really there were very few ladies that had that shape, so just to keep my paper smaller, I got rid of that. But if anybody does have a really high curve at their center back, please contact me and I'll help you fit your pattern. But if you start with the right crotch curve, that's the first thing that's going to make it a lot easier to help you adjust this pattern. Now, because there's no side seams, we want to create some fitting options. If you have let's say more than 6 or 7 inches difference between your waist and your tummy and your full hip, okay, because there's no side seam, so you can't take in or let out the side seam. So let me just I have a half of a waistband here, and then let's just use one of our top leg pieces. So basically on the printed pattern there is a guide for the approximate center of, not center, side seam is going to be approximately here. And if you look at the actual printed pattern, there'll be a guideline here. So one thing you can do if you have more than a 6 or 7 inch difference between your your waist, where your waistband's going to sit at the top of the waist, and your full hip. And let me just draw a full hip line here. So the full hip is going to be approximately here. Okay, so what you can do is to make the top edge of the legs more fitted, or more fitted, because we want to create a smaller top edge for your waist. You can actually create a dart in the upper leg where the side seam would be. So you can, when you're fitting your muslin, if you put your muslin on and it's just way too big at the top of the legs before you add your yoke. Like to Sew would like to know if this pattern is on sale. Okay, so below the video there is a link to the pattern, and I put it on sale 25% off for the first week. So it is on sale. There is a link to it. If anybody is interested in waiting for the PDF, I'll have that next week. But I didn't have time to do the layered PDF yet. But the printed version is on my website, and I will be adding a PDF. So if you want to tape your pieces together, you're going to have to wait until next week for that. But the printed pattern is there. Okay, so you can take in the waist here, and then if you do that, that's going to allow you to also take in your waistband. And the cool thing is, if you create a dart here, and in your muslin, you can pin it on, and you can bring that dart down as low as you need to along your side seam. Think about traditional jeans that have top stitching along the side seam to hold the pocket bag pieces along the side seam to the back. So you could create a detail where you do your dart, and then after you do the dart, you can top stitch it similarly to the darts that are in the center front and back leg, and then that will allow you to create another vertical line, which I think is very slenderizing. But the other cool thing is, if you take in this much here, then on your waist yoke, you can take in a similar amount, And if you need to really reduce the top edge because you have a defined waist, you can actually create, you know, even take in more. So you can figure this out with your muslin on and how much you need to pinch out. So you can create the dart from the top of the waist yoke down along where the side seam would be. And then the cool thing is, because you're taking some off here and some off at the top of the waist yoke, it's not as invasive to the shape. So if I cut one and tape it back together, you can see that it doesn't make as severe as an angle as it would if you were taking in that much. So like if we don't take off any down at the bottom, see what an angle that is? But because you're taking some off at the bottom too, it makes a nicer shape. So that's one way that you can fit the waistband if your waistline is, you know, significantly smaller than your tummy and your full hip. Now for me, I can actually pull these on without undoing any of the buttons. If I undo the top two buttons, it's easier to get them on and off, like I don't have to wriggle into them. But, you know, depending on your shape, you can really snug up this waistband. You know, and if you need to make it smaller, you could make some more darts that go to 0 at the base as well. So let me just show you. So like let's say the top edge is still gaping away from you. You can cut through the top, create a hinge at the bottom, and you can overlap it like this. So you can really get a nice shape for a defined waist with this waist yoke. And the fact that it's 4 inches wide when it's finished, or deep when it's finished, really gives you good coverage on your tummy. Hi Judy, welcome. So that's how you would fit the waistband if you need to take it in. And you can see in the instructions I included information about those things here, how you can take things in. The other thing I have in here is tips for positioning the front and back darts on the leg. And I'm going to get to that in a minute because that was a little bit trying for my pattern tester, so I have some tips for that. But what I want to do here is I just want to show you that once you've, you know, picked your size and you've cut it out and you've tried it, if you need to, let's say, like a similar, you know, like let's say one similar problem that people have is too much vertical length underneath the crotch and they get wrinkles here. You can still do a lot of the same things that you can do to a regular pair of jeans. Oh, Mary wants to know if there's belt loops. There are belt loops. I did not put them on that pair, but they're on, let me show you what they look like here. Here's the first pair that I made, and in the instructions, the belt loops are actually attached at the top edge when the waist yoke is attached to the waist facing, you know, between the facing and the waist yoke. When you sew them on, you can insert the belt loops in there. And here's an idea for a design element here. If you want the belt loops to come all the way down to the yoke, you can make them that long, and then you can stitch them down through the yoke to keep them from being one big wide open belt loop. So if you'd like to, you know, continue the belt loops to the bottom seam, you definitely can do that. Otherwise, the top edge is sewn, you know, caught in the seam between the waist yoke and the waist yoke facing, and then you just turn them under and top stitch them down. So there are belt loops, and there are instructions for putting the belt loops on. Okay, so I'm going to just do something here. Let's say you measure, and I highly recommend, you know, measuring across, making sure, well, you don't have to measure because I did it for you, so you don't have to measure. Let me just show you, where's my, okay, so here is the size chart. So you can see here, this is finished garment measurements. So basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look in the full hip measurement for a measurement that agrees with you. I don't really have any ease here. I really can't pinch. You know, so if you want to pick a size that's closest to your full hip, it goes from 34 to 54 and a half, sizes 4 to 24, and then the corresponding waist top, that's the top of the yoke, is listed there. So once you pick your size, let's say we're going to be working with the size 14, and my hip is between 14 and 16. Like, let's say my full hip is 44. If you're working with a denim that has less than between 10 and 20% stretch, you might want to add a little bit of ease. So what you can do here is, to add ease, I would slash the pattern in the center where the you know, where the side seam would be, and spread it that way. So like if I just take a piece of paper, tape it down, you know, you can add through the hip that way to create a little bit of extra ease. Okay, so that's how you can add ease to your hip measurement. And you know, if it's just your hip, you can add it at the bottom and keep the waist edge the same. You can make it a wedge shape. So depending on where you need to add. So in this case, I added down here, and I added nothing here. So all through here I've added. Okay, so that's really for your legs and a little bit in your hips. You can do it in the opposite direction where you pivot here and open up this part too. So let's say you have thin legs and you'd like to have the ease go the other way. You could do it like this. Okay, and then you're adding here. Okay, and if you don't need it up at the very top, you can take it in, you know, here and here. Okay, so that's a way that you can play with the ease of this pattern without a side seam. So you can cut it in half, make adjustments in there, and then put it back. And then let me just cut this. I'm just going to cut that mess off. I'm just going to put them together like this, because after you sew them, okay, you've got your crotch seam. Okay, so just like any other pair of pants or jeans, if you end up with extra vertical length under your butt, you can go through and scoop just like any other pair of jeans. So I'm going to draw my original, let's pretend this is my original seam, right? You can, I'm going to find a different color here. Use my, I don't know where my cap went for that, but oh, here it is. Okay, so you can scoop some more. So if you started out with the low full hip, for example, you can scoop it lower. You know, or you can scoop straight through to create, you know, and get rid of vertical length like that. So you can still do that. Now, if you scoop down to pick this up, and now the top is too long, let me show you on another piece. So if you have to then pick up the extra that you scooped here, so we scooped, let's say we scooped a ½ an inch here, and we don't need it above the crotch level either. So let me just draw crotch level now. Here's the crotch level. So let's say we scoop down. I'm just going to draw my original, and then let me just scoop down in a different color just to show you. So here's the scoop that we scooped down. Okay, so we scoop this much, let's say. You know, and then on the front, it would have to be a similar amount here. Okay, so our scoop is here and here. So now crotch level is down here. Okay, so if the amount of fabric that you transferred from here up to here, if you don't need that in the back, you can get rid of it very similarly as any other pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to start here, pinch at your center back on your muslin just like you would normally do, but then you're just going to blend yourself all the way to 0 on the other side. And you can see by the time you get to the front, you're really making such a minimal change that you can still pick up the fabric here if it's too much after scooping down. So that's a way that you can completely remove extra length on your back leg if you need to. But remember, starting with the low full butt, which looks like this. Okay, so see the difference? It's already dipping down. So that's going to get you closer before you even have to scoop. So instead of starting with one shape, you can start with the one that's already scooped and then see how you're doing with that. So those are the big fitting things. The other thing I want to mention is because there is a two-piece leg, so we've got, let me just make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, we've got a two-piece leg, and I'm just going to draw some lines in here. So if we have our, this is where our side seam would be if we had one. So something like this. So this is our approximate side seam that I just drew. Let me just move these out of the way here. I just want to cut off the top of one so I can get it closer. You can see that the line between the seam is not straight, it's curved. So at your center back, for example, which would be about here, if you put your muslin together and you say to yourself, oh, I still have some extra fabric hanging out on my back leg, you can also scoop that up a little bit like that. Okay, so you can get rid of a little bit of vertical length at that seam that's right above your knee. So speaking of that seam, what did I do? Oh, I'm looking for the jeans that I'm wearing. They're so comfortable. I forgot that I didn't have my yoga pants on. Let me show you in here. So this is the seam right here. Let me just make it lighter so you can see. Oops. Okay, so your first thing is, and I didn't put this in the instructions, so this is kind of important, you're going to want to make sure that you measure from your inseam at the crotch down to right above your kneecap. You want the seam to be right above the bend in your knee, otherwise it's going to be really uncomfortable. You do not want this to be sitting in the middle of your knee. You want it to be right above where your knee bends. So measure your crotch length from, you know, on a pair of pants that you have on, down to where the top of your knee is, and make that adjustment first. And there are length and shorten lines on the pattern. So, you know, just above here, you know, the bottom of the top of the leg, whoops, there is a length and shorten line. Okay, so you're going to want to use that to shorten this or lengthen it if you need to create a seam that's going to sit right above your knee. I was trying to see if I could do twister and show you my knees bent, but I'm not going to try to do that. I think that would be a disaster. But just know that making this the right length is important. Okay, and then once you have that, you can then see if you need to adjust the length of the lower part to make it long enough. You want to make sure it's long enough. Now, the other thing about this leg is it's a slight flare, and some of the hem is going to be taken up by the darts, because the darts that are on the center front and back legs go straight through the hem. Okay, so they're actually removing a little bit of the flare, you know, down at this bottom. And let me show you that. So you can see here, if I turn the edge of this up, you can see that the darts go straight through, okay, the hem front and back. And you can play with the position of them. These darts are, this is 2 inches from the hem. This one's a little bit less than 2 inches. The ones that I'm wearing, the darts are a little bit closer to the line at the knee. And on this pair, I made these little tacks at the ends of the darts. On the pair I'm wearing, I just back tacked, and I don't have those little lines. So there's all sorts of different style variations you can do to these jeans to make them very cool. So the one thing I want to say is, don't try to sew these darts until you have constructed your jeans and you can try them on, because it's very difficult to know exactly where on this line you need to center these darts, and they're not straight up and down, they're on an angle. So what I recommend doing to position these vertical darts is to take a piece of chalk and literally draw where you think they're going to go. Try them on, take a picture, have someone take a picture of your back view, and then once you see how these vertical lines are laying on your body, then it becomes very easy. So for example, when I was working with mine, I'm actually going to, let me just take the jeans off that I have on now. I want to show you how I figured out my vertical darts on this pair, because I don't, oh, maybe I did it over here. Wait a minute. Let me turn these inside out for a second. All right, let me see. I want to see if I made any changes to these. No, these I figured out. Yeah, these I figured out right the first time. Let me take off these the jeans I have on. I'll be right back. Alright, so here's what I want to show you. When I first did the darts for the pair that I was wearing, you can see I drew a dart here, and this was not in the right spot. So instead of drawing on with chalk on the right side of the jeans, I decided to just go for it, and I sewed this dart. Then I tried them on, and I could use the position of this dart to realize, oh, I needed to move it over an inch. Okay, and a lot of times what happens is, see, on both sides I did that. So I used my first dart to figure out the real position. So if you just draw chalk lines on the right side of your jeans and then check the position, then it becomes very easy. Because if you look at my back, I only have one set of darts, and I got these darts by drawing the chalk line on the outside of the, on the right side of my jeans, putting them on, and then in this version, all I had to do, I had the bottom correct. I just had to move the top over a little bit. So it makes it very easy to position these vertical darts if you draw them on with chalk first after you've constructed them. So that's my little tip on these vertical darts. Now you can see they're very shallow. This extra fabric was actually built into the pattern, so it's really not pulling in excess, ease. But if you needed to, you could take them in a little bit deeper if you wanted to create more shape on your leg. So I really feel like all of these different vertical darts, the seam on the leg, being able to create, if I needed to, this is, so here's my back, make it a little bit wider. So if I needed to, I could have created a dart right here to take my waist in. So you can see there's just lots of opportunities for fitting this onto you because of all of the seams. So I'm super excited about this pattern, and I hope you guys are going to be super excited about it too. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Like I said, the print version of the pattern is on my website, and I'm just making it 25% off for the first week. So if anybody wants to take advantage of that, they can. And I anticipate doing a class with Fabric Mart Fabrics for this pattern, so stay tuned for information about that. But anyway, so that's my exciting, I feel like, because I finally launched it, so I'm really excited, and I hope you guys are going to be excited about it too. If anybody has any questions about fitting this pattern, please, email me, because I think next week on FabFit Friday, I'm going to show you how to do the hem after I give this another wash and dry, and then I'm going to be moving on to a new topic. So if anybody is going to start working with the pattern and they have questions about how to do certain things for fitting, if you tell me what those things are before next Friday, I can be prepared, and we can tackle that during FabFit Friday next week. So that's my report for now. My husband is actually downstairs in the basement trying to fix our dryer as I'm live with you, so I'm really interested to get off and see if he made any progress, because otherwise we're going to have to go shopping for a new dryer, which I'm not looking forward to. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little first peek at the Frenchie jeans, and I really appreciate all of you hanging out with me. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and if anybody's in my Fabric Mart Fabric class, I have another pants class starting Sunday. Oh, Mary says, you should be excited. You've put a lot of time in this. Yes, I did, Mary. Thank you. And I am excited because, I don't know, they're just cool. I want to make some things that are not like just standard patterns now. I want to make some things with different details. So I'm kind of excited. So I'll be teaching pants on Sunday for Fabric Mart Fabric. And also I'm going to be with the ASG, Austin, Texas ASG via Zoom. I'm going to be doing my embroidered buttonhole class. So I have an exciting weekend of teaching. Anytime I'm teaching, I'm super excited. So I hope you guys have a really, really nice weekend. And, oh, Pat says, congratulations. Will the ill-fated poppy waistband have a new... Oh, you can say that, Pat. That's okay. It is ill-fated. I think I need to figure out how to make enough room or make the waist yoke bigger so I don't have to rely on the stretch. So that was part of my problem, because by the time I made the second one, it just felt like a corset around my tummy, and it was not comfortable. So anyway, um, oh, Diane says I'm putting her way out of her comfort zone. I'm excited. I will tell you, um, the poppy waistband will have new life. I will tell you, I wish I were 3 people, because in my J. Stern Design life, I would really like to be doing more embroidery as well as these other things I'm doing, and I just don't have enough time to do everything as much as I want to. Those poppy designs are almost ready to launch as well, and I really wanted to launch them in February because it's National Embroidery Month, but I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to that. But anyway, so I will be working with those poppies. You guys are funny. You all should jump in. And if you're not in my Facebook group, J. Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider, and join that as well if you're on Facebook, because there you can get instant access to me at all times by posting your pictures and questions. I'll help you. And certainly, I know there's at least going to be one class for this, and I will obviously do more fitting with this pattern as more issues come up. I've addressed quite a few issues with my pattern tester, and I will tell you, I'm an average full butt, and I got a good fit, and my pattern tester is a low full butt, and she got a good fit as well. And we were 2 completely different sizes, so I'm going to get some pictures from her so I can share those with you eventually, but I'm really, really excited. So, oh, oh, wait a minute. Pat says the Happy Pants waistband is giving me a run for my money. All right, well, Pat, let me know what's going on with that, because I will help you with your Happy Pants waistband. I don't want it to give you a run for your money. So let me know what's going on with that, and I will help you. All right, so I'm off now. I actually have a pants fitting student I have to get together with in a little bit, so I'm going to go now. Thank you so much for joining me for the launch of the Frenchie jeans, and I hope you have a lovely, lovely weekend. I'll see you next week for FabFit Friday, and just for a sort of scheduling in the future, the first Friday in March I'm going to be at Stitches West, so there will be no FabFit Friday that weekend. So there will be one more before I go, and then actually the next 2 weekends I'm teaching, so there's going to be 2 weeks off from FabFit Friday because I'm going to be in California the first weekend, and then I'm going to be with the Albany ASG doing an in-person pants fitting the next weekend. So, but I'll post things from those events so you can see what I'm doing. But anyway, so I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me. And please, if you have questions about fitting this pattern or anything about this pattern or anything, just, email me or, leave comments below the video. So thank you so much, and I'm signing off. Have a nice weekend. Bye.